Hello everyone, this is Alireza. Today we will implement our menu callback and we will use reflection again. So let's get busy, shall we? String menu name equals to obj.toString. Because we know that we are sending a string inside the method, that's a safe way of using it. Then I need something inside my resources and I don't have it yet, I think. Oh yeah, I have properties. Okay, cool. And that is called public static string selected category name. And of course it's a property, get and set. Thank you. Then I come back to callback and we say resource dot selected category name equals to menu name. And then we say our category name equals to resource dot selected category name. You can say, hey, why didn't you assign menu name there? Well, I had a problem that this guy wouldn't refresh itself unless I call it back. So this is a way for doing it. I assign it there because I will use it inside the resource itself. But then to update it, I'm recalling it here. Okay? After that, we say, okay, I need another property from our resource. And let me see if I put it here or not, somewhere else. Okay. It's this public static and it's a scriptable object and it's selected category database and it only has a get. No, it has a get and a private set. Okay, and I will call it back to backing field. Thank you. I was looking, where did I put that private thing? But meh. So before we return, we call a method generate category database. Okay, we don't have that method, so we want to create that method and we have another partial part for that. Now this is nice. Because we are using the reflection, we can't assign databases like before. If you look, we have this guy that is very, very easy way of assigning databases. But this means that I need access to directly the class itself. I can't use any form of reflection to get this thing itself. Unfortunately, reflection doesn't have something like .getClass. If it had it, it would be nice, but it doesn't. So I need to generate another method here, and that is public static that returns a scriptable object, generate category database, a string as name, a string as folder, and I default it to category database category folder name. No, sorry, category folder name. Okay. Now inside here we say if string dot is null or empty the name. We send in the wrong thing. We don't want anything. We return null. Okay. Other than that, we say assembly, and of course we are using system.reflection, and we call it assembly equals to get assembly. No. Thank you. This is a method I need to add. And I want this assembly to be a property because I want to get access to it later on if needed. Not sure, but I didn't use it in the code, but why not? Public static assembly in system.reflection, and we call it assembly. And it has a get, and I will say a private set. And it should work. And I can remove it there. And yeah, it's not redundant anymore. Cool. Now get assembly is another method, and it's really easy, honestly. So we say static that returns an assembly, and we call it get assembly. All we are doing here, we return assembly, and it has a method called load new assembly name, and we want the name of the assembly that we have our solution and project in it. How can we find it? Well, if you are using Visual Studio tools for Unity, it's easy. You come into project, Unity vs item system properties, and you get it, assembly -C#. I tried to change it, save it, so that I can get a better naming inside my commenting tools, and I'm special using GoStock Enterprise. I will make a video on this. It's a very nice tool. But when I closed this guy, I changed it, I saved it, I closed it, I went back into Unity and came back, and bam, it was back to assembly-C#. So honestly, it's not a bad thing because now I can use it, safely. And even if you don't have this guy, although I don't know why you shouldn't because it's free, but if you don't have, every time Unity itself is creating a Visual Studio project, it's assigning this name, assembly-C#. Okay. So after we got the assembly, we want to collect all the scriptable objects with a special name and assign them to an array of system.type. Remember, when you are using system.type, by the way, before I start, this video may be a bit long, okay? Get ready for it. So when you get the type of something, you get a hook to that class inside memory. You don't get the class back because the class is something that is in code, but you get the class instance in the memory and you hook to that, and you can pull stuff from that class in the memory. So we want a system.type array, and we call it SO for scriptable object equals to. Now here I'm using link from T in assembly, and this is the property this time, dot get types. Okay, where T that we are sending in as type, and you see that now because we are using the where keyword, we need you to use system.link. Cool. T dot is subclass of, and here we need to send in a type, and as always, type of scriptable object. Okay, cool. So by now we collected every scriptable object inside the project or solution, or sorry, inside the assembly, because we are getting it inside the assembly. But from there we want where T dot name dot contains. We want something, and that is name plus, and remember we sent in the name as parameter, plus a database. Okay, so we got the scriptable object that has the name that we want plus database in it. So for example, here we are collecting, for example, this guy, armor, we are sending in, and we want a scriptable object that has armor database as a name. And then we select the T, and at the end we change it to an array because, cool, we want an array. This is link, and whenever you can, use link. Link is fast. Some people says that link is not as fast as, for example, a for loop, or for each loop is not as fast as for loop, and they are right because intermediate language compiler of Unity is old, and it converts it to a very junk thing. But if you follow Unity's blogs, they are working on IL2 CPP, and the new compiler would be out eventually, sooner or later, and the intermediate language will be fixed. A question: if we are going into IL2 CPP, and IL2 CPP is ahead of time compiler, meaning that you need every script there to be used. Can we use reflection? Yes, we can, unless we use the emit method. The emit method would be out of hand. Another question: will the way we are handling the generation of these scripts inside editor work? Yes, because even though IL2 CPP comes in, the Unity editor itself, of course, I have errors. The Unity editor itself will remain as JIT, just-in-time compiler. And when we add the scripts, it will be compiled just in time inside the editor, so we are safe. Okay? Those were questions that I forgot to mention in previous episodes. So, now that we have the database that we want and its type, well, we are sure that we should have a single database for each item type. So we can easily say that our category that I don't have, our category type, as I said, we don't have that, equals to SO of index 0. Now, what is the category type? It's another property. So we say public static system.type, and we call it category type, and we send in a get and a private set. Okay, back into the method. So the category type is equals to the first index inside this array, because honestly it should be only one there. If it's more than one, it means that we have duplicated our category, and that's not a good thing. But even though if that's happening, we are just getting the first name. We need to add tons of sanity checks when we are doing these stuff. And I will do those sanity checks as a separate video when the whole system is working. That's a better way of doing that. Okay, so now that we have our type of the category database that we want, we have another property, and that is public static string, and that is category full name. And again, it has a get and a private set. I tend to use private set for the reflections stuff because it's safe, you know. So here we say, where was I? Yeah. So category full name equals to category type dot full name. Full name, let me do it again. Full name, as you see, it says gets the fully qualified name of the type, including the namespace of the type, but not the assembly. So, for example, for armor database, we will get rpg.itemsystem.armor database, okay, as the full name. Cool. Then we want to get rid of that, you call it, namespace. Okay, so substring of. Again, category type dot full name dot last index of the dot plus 1. No, what did I do? Okay, plus 1. So remember, it would be something like rpg dot item system dot weapon database. Okay, we are getting rid of this part. How we are getting rid of this part? We know that the last dot is the dot that shows us the end of the namespace, because it's the namespace dot the name of the class. So we get the last dot, we get rid of this part, and we end up with the name that we want. Okay? Then we say string path equals to database general path and yeah, that's that. Then we say if not string that is null or empty, the folder that we want, and by default it has a value, but you may send in null. Okay, so if it's not null, then we want to add it to the path. So path equals to path plus / plus folder. After that, we say path equals to path plus another, oh no, not that, / at sign / rpg to get unique name plus the name we want plus at sign database dot asset. And then we say var asset equals to asset database dot load asset at path. The one we want is path. Type of course, is a scriptable object, and we cast it as a scriptable object. Okay, and to make it easier to read, a scriptable object. Then we say if asset equals to null, means that we don't have the database, we want to create it. So asset equals to scriptable object dot create instance. Now you see that we have two of them. One we can send in the type, and we used it inside our generic database. The other one, you see it has two overloads. One of them, again, we can use the type, but the second overload is what we want to use. We can send in the name that we want. Okay, and guess what is name? Category full name. Okay, wait, yeah, okay, we say asset database dot create the asset, and the asset is asset, and the path is the path. Now, the reason I paused for a second was to be sure if this is the correct name. You may say, hey, maybe this is the correct name. RPG name asset database dot asset. No, sir, it's not. This name that is being used inside create instance is the name of the class that is a scriptable object. And that was why we wanted that, okay? So after we create it, we say asset database dot save assets. This one took me a few days and I lost the code, the whole code, these many scripts once to figure this one. But asset database dot remove asset bundle names. Sorry, remove unused asset bundle names. Because if we don't use this, then the last thing we want to use will give us error. If we don't remove the unused names, it says that, hey, it's locked, this asset is locked and I can't refresh. So we need to remove unused asset bundle names and then refresh. And at the end, of course, we return something, and that is the asset. So by doing this, we create another way of generating our databases, but instead of knowing what is the database, we are getting the database itself. Okay? This is the reflection way. We have a generic way, we have a reflection way, so we have the flexibility. Now, going back to our callback. Finally, we can say var db equals to resource dot selected category database. The whole reason was that if you come back inside properties, you see that it is calling this guy, generate category database. And what did I miss? Oh, we need to send in the names now. So wait. I forgot something. Yeah, I forgot something. So the reason I didn't find this guy first, and I'm totally wrong there. This method is named generate database object. Okay, so we don't have this method yet inside our properties. The reason was that I had it inside one more spot, and it was in the wrong spot in my notes. So let's create this method. I will put it here. No, actually that was the right position to put it, now that I think about it, because that's another database instance. So yeah, so we say static void generate category database, and here we say selected category database. Remember, it had a private set equals to generate database object with the selected category name. And if you come back inside our property, this should be the one, not that one. There we go. And we don't even need the private set there. It's only a get. So let's recap what we had done by now. We have a category database that is selected by the callback. For that, we need the name of the category that we selected, and then the full name of the category. And we call the generate database for itself. The generate database is calling this generate object and sends the name. The generate object goes into a reflection, finds the database with the name we gave as a scriptable object, create the asset for us, and refresh. If the asset is there, then it simply returns it. Okay? This is a scriptable object factory for you, if you want to. So now here you see it's a scriptable object. Cool. Scriptable object. Thank you. Inside our callback, we can finally finish this guy. And we say var db size equals to. Now, how can we get access to the db's stuff? Because if I call the db, you see that we don't have access to that private member of it. That is database. And we don't have access to its methods. So we go into reflection again. Get type dot get method. We know that the method is called count. After getting the method, we can invoke it. And when we use invoke, we say, okay, I have hooked to this class inside memory. I pulled out a method from this guy, and I want to run that method. But run this method on what object? Of course, the object itself, again, is the DB. That is the object inside the memory we hooked to. And we know that it has no parameters as count, because count only returns a value. Okay? And if you look, it returns an object again. So, how can we parse this guy? We know it returns an integer, but hey, system doesn't know it. So we say if system dot int 32 dot parse db size dot toString. Okay? If that, because that's now the integer, equals to 0, then this guy has no members in it, so return. We don't need to add any stuff to anything. Other than that, we say for int, the uppercase again is system, and instead of, it's I, please, and I, thank you. So instead of this, we can use this guy here, putting it here, and it here, and we can say dot toString here. Okay? So we can simply say now db size, because now it is an integer 32. Okay? And we can say int. And you see that int is equals to system.int system.int 32. Okay? So what did I do? I invoked the method, I get the value, I convert it to a string, and then parsed it to an int and assigned it to the variable. So now we say db size. Okay? And we want an object array, and we call it arguments equals to new object array of 1. Okay? Or we can simply say I. After that, we say var item equals to, again, db.getType. So we hook to that into the memory, and we get another method. This time the method is called the get method that we had. But remember, invoke, as you see, the second overload down here has the object and can't accept an object array as parameters. That is why I sent the integer, the index, as an array, not only an object. It would yell at me. So invoke, and invoke the method on the DB again, and the args as the argument. Okay? So you see that now it returns an object. So we say object. Okay? After that, remember, the list view has a list of objects, and that is why I added the list of objects. We can say items.add the item. Cool, isn't it? And here I need I. Okay. So we finished this method. Bunch of reflections here and there, but when you get the hang of reflection, it's really easy to use it. It may be looked a bit confusing at first, but trust me, the more you use reflection, the more you like reflection. Be careful, reflections are not fast. But hey, we are working inside editor, and right now we are done without any errors. We are inside editor, so we are safe, you know. We can pause for a few milliseconds. So inside database item category, we have nothing. If I select and choose weapon, it creates the database for me, and you see that I have nothing there. But hey, we have it here. I can add 2 elements, and I'm not showing them yet. But at least we got our database. If I go into armor, it will create the armor database. If I go into potions, it will create the potions for me. Now if I go back into weapons, it shows these. It didn't refresh in time, if you noticed, because I didn't use it here. So how can I provoke this guy to update in real time? It's really easy. It's here. So we say if not string is null or empty, the category name. So if we have a category name, go on, please call that menu callback for us with the category name. Okay, let's see. So if I change it to 3 now, it provokes it and it gets the reflective and calls these guys for me. So back to 0, back to 125. Holy crap! Tons of weapons. Yeah. So, and of course, if I add 1 element 0, you see that these guys comes from the base, because if I go back to weapon now, I'm only adding object and iWeapon, and iWeapon only has a method that is on GUI, and we spoke about it. Let's move this guy 1 forward, because that's easy one to implement. And implement missing members, backing field, and please serialized field. Okay, so if I come back now, below rarity I should see the prefab. Cool. So this first part is coming from item object, and this part is coming from the type itself. And remember, the type had public override on GUI. The reason I'm doing this is that when you are developing your category base classes, then you can use this ungui here to draw the GUI stuff, and you don't need reflection there. That's easy way. Okay, so back to 0. Thank you. Thank you for your cooperation, mister. And do I need anything else on list view? I don't need anything on weapon. List view, let me double check. We are calling it, well, we only have the add to work now. And this guy that is there, well, I can show it right now. So I add one. No, I can't show it because dumb guy, you don't have properties yet. Okay, let's pause the video. Let's stop the video here. And I think it's enough reflection for today. So until next episode, have fun, everybody. Bye-bye.